Listen carefully because this might hurt. A woman will never respect you if you keep repeating the same mistakes that destroy your own value. Respect is not something you demand. It's something you earn by the way you carry yourself, the way you live, and the standards you set. If you've ever felt like she ignores your worth, it's not because she can't see it. It's because you keep giving her reasons not to. The truth is simple. Respect dies when you kill it yourself. The first mistake: you don't respect yourself. When you compromise your principles just to please her, when you say yes, even when your heart screams no, you're teaching her that your values are cheap. And if you don't value yourself, why should she? The second mistake: you're too available. Every text you reply instantly. Every plan you cancel yours to fit hers. You make her the center of your universe while you abandon your own. Understand this. Respect is built when she sees you have a mission, a purpose bigger than her. If you revolve around her 24/7, you become predictable, replaceable, and boring. The third mistake: you have no boundaries. You tolerate disrespect. You forgive what you should walk away from. You accept behavior that chips away at your dignity. Boundaries are not about controlling her. They're about protecting your self-worth. Without them, you're not a strong man in her eyes. You're a weak one. Respect begins within. If you don't respect yourself, nobody else will. When you constantly put your own needs, dreams, and boundaries at the bottom of the list just to keep a woman happy, you're not showing love, you're showing weakness. A man who respects himself walks with quiet confidence. He doesn't beg for validation or approval. But when you treat yourself as second class, when you sacrifice your standards out of fear of losing her, you teach her to value you less. Self-respect is the foundation of masculine energy. Without it, you appear desperate. And desperation kills attraction. A woman cannot respect a man who doesn't even respect himself. If you want her admiration, you must first prove to yourself that your principles, your identity, and your dignity are non-negotiable. The moment you ignore your inner voice just to keep her pleased, you've already compromised your worth. Imagine this: she crosses a line, she disrespects you, but instead of addressing it, you laugh it off because you're afraid of conflict. That's not strength. That's weakness disguised as kindness. Women instinctively know the difference. They know when you're standing firm versus when you're folding, just to avoid rejection. And once she sees you as a man who betrays himself to keep her, she loses the very respect you're trying so hard to protect. Self-respect means having the courage to walk away when your boundaries are violated. It means being strong enough to risk losing her rather than losing yourself. That kind of inner strength is what commands respect, not blind obedience or silent suffering. Self-respect also shows in how you invest your time and energy. If you are always available, always waiting for her call, always rearranging your schedule just to fit into hers, you're not being loving. You're being needy. A man who respects himself values his mission, his goals, and his growth. He doesn't abandon his priorities just to seek approval from a woman. Women don't respect a man who sacrifices his entire world for them. They respect a man who builds a strong world for himself and invites them into it. Your time is your life, and when you give it away too easily, you signal to her that you don't value it. Respect yourself enough to protect your focus. Respect yourself enough to make her earn your attention instead of offering it on a silver platter. That's when she begins to see you as valuable. Think about this. Why do women admire strong men in history, in society, in stories? It's because those men never compromised their identity to gain approval. They lived by principles, not by pressure. Self-respect means living by a code you will not break, no matter how much you want someone's love. If your values are negotiable, then your dignity is disposable. Women test men all the time, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. They test to see if you will bend, if you will sell yourself out, or if you will stand your ground. When you fail those tests, attraction dies. When you pass them, respect grows. So ask yourself, do you live by rules you truly believe in? Or do you shift your identity depending on who you're with? If it's the latter, you're destroying the respect she could have had for you. Another aspect of self-respect is how you carry yourself emotionally. A man with low self-respect often seeks constant reassurance. Do you love me? Do you still want me? Am I enough? These questions reveal insecurity, and insecurity is the enemy of respect. A confident man doesn't need to ask for validation because he already validates himself. He knows his worth regardless of who accepts or rejects him. When you base your self-worth entirely on her opinion, you hand over your power. And the more power you give away, the less respect she feels. Women respect men who are grounded, men who can stand firm in their identity, whether loved, ignored, or even rejected. Self-respect means being emotionally independent, not emotionally needy. It means knowing you are enough with or without her approval. Self-respect also means protecting your mental and physical space. If you let people, especially women you're attracted to, cross boundaries repeatedly, you are silently announcing that you don't respect yourself. Maybe she insults you in front of others and you laugh it off. Maybe she manipulates you with silence and you chase harder. Maybe she demands everything while giving nothing back, and you accept it because you're scared of losing her. All these behaviors show her that your dignity is negotiable. Respect is not given to those who tolerate disrespect. Respect is earned by those who say, "This is my line, cross it, and I walk away." The strength to walk away is not about arrogance, it's about self-respect. And ironically, the moment you develop that strength, you stop losing respect and start gaining it. Your self-respect also determines the quality of people you attract. When you don't value yourself, you unconsciously invite toxic relationships, one-sided efforts, and emotional abuse. Why? Because you believe that's all you deserve. But when you respect yourself, you naturally repel those who would try to use you. You begin to attract people, including women, who see your worth and treat you accordingly. Respect works like a mirror. What you reflect inward is reflected outward. If you reflect insecurity, you'll get manipulation. If you reflect confidence and dignity, you'll get loyalty and respect. A woman cannot give you what you don't already give yourself. That's why self-respect is non-negotiable. You don't just demand it, you embody it. And once you embody it, it becomes impossible for her to ignore it. So here's the truth. Lack of self-respect is the fastest way to lose a woman's admiration. It's not about money, looks, or charm. It's about how you see yourself. If you constantly betray your own values, if you trade your dignity for temporary affection, she will never respect you. But when you hold yourself to higher standards, when you protect your boundaries, when you walk with quiet confidence, she has no choice but to respect you. Remember this: love without respect is shallow. Attraction without respect is temporary. But when respect is present, love deepens and attraction lasts. And that respect begins with you. How you see yourself, how you treat yourself, and how you refuse to accept anything less than what you truly deserve. Respect yourself first, and the world, including her, will follow. One of the biggest mistakes men make in relationships is being overly available. At first, it might seem romantic, answering every call, replying instantly, dropping everything for her. But over time, it doesn't come across as love. It comes across as neediness. And neediness is the enemy of respect. A woman can sense when your availability comes from abundance versus when it comes from fear. If you are always at her beck and call, she subconsciously feels you don't have a life of your own. She begins to think, if his time is this cheap, maybe his value is too. Love grows when there's balance, when both partners maintain individuality. But when you erase yourself and orbit around her, attraction dies. True availability should be a choice, not a constant state of desperation. When you are overly available, you rob her of the chance to miss you. Think about it. Absence creates value. Scarcity builds desire. If something is always present, always accessible, it becomes ordinary, even if it's precious. That's why diamonds are valuable and stones are not. If you're texting her every hour, showing up at every opportunity, canceling plans just to be with her, she doesn't get the space to appreciate you. Instead of feeling special, she starts feeling suffocated. Respect comes when she sees that your presence is earned, not guaranteed. If you're always there, you turn into background noise, safe, predictable, forgettable. But when you create healthy distance, when you balance attention with space, she starts to crave your presence. And craving leads to respect. Neediness reveals itself in your actions, but it starts in your mindset. The needy man operates from fear of losing her, fear of being alone, fear of rejection. This fear drives him to overcompensate with constant attention. He believes, if I'm always available, she'll never leave me. But ironically, that's exactly why she does. Women don't respect fear. They respect strength, and strength is shown in restraint. A man who respects himself doesn't rush to prove his worth. He doesn't flood her with constant validation. Instead, he lets his life speak for itself. Neediness kills mystery, and mystery is essential for attraction. The more predictable you are, the less exciting you become. If you want her to respect you, stop operating from fear and start operating from confidence. Being overly available also communicates that you lack purpose. A man with a mission cannot be at someone's disposal 24/7. He is building, creating, pursuing something greater than himself. That's what makes him attractive. His sense of direction, his ambition, his vision. But when you put her above your goals, you silently say, "You are my only purpose." At first, she may enjoy the attention, but deep down she loses respect because women admire men who are driven. She wants to feel like she's part of your journey, not the whole journey. If you abandon your path just to chase her, you lose the very thing that made you interesting. Respect comes when she sees you as a leader, a man with direction. Don't sacrifice your purpose to be overly available, because without purpose, you lose both her respect and your identity. Neediness also shows up in communication. If you're always double texting, chasing after delayed replies, or panicking when she doesn't respond instantly, you reveal emotional dependence. This pressure pushes her away instead of pulling her closer. A confident man knows that silence doesn't mean rejection. It simply means she's busy or uninterested, and either way, his life moves forward. But a needy man interprets silence as disaster and responds with anxiety. That desperation kills attraction instantly. Respect is built when you can hold your ground, when you can stay calm instead of seeking constant reassurance. Every time you chase her approval through communication, you train her to see you as emotionally weak, and weakness never earns respect. Instead, discipline your emotions. Don't text because you're panicking. Text because you genuinely have something meaningful to say. Being overly available also erases polarity in relationships. Attraction thrives on tension, the balance of closeness and distance, pursuit and retreat. When you're constantly present, you kill that tension, you remove the chase. And without the chase, respect fades. A woman wants to feel she has something to win, something to keep. If you're already giving 100% without her earning it, there's no challenge, no reason for her to value it. Think of it like a game. If the prize is handed out for free, no effort, no struggle, it loses value. But if she has to invest emotionally, if she has to put in effort, she treasures it more. Over availability is not generosity, it's self-sabotage. Respect is born when you maintain polarity, when you balance giving with pulling back, when you remain both accessible and mysterious. At the core of being overly available and needy is one truth: you don't believe you're enough. That's why you overgive. That's why you overcommit. That's why you try too hard. You think, if I don't give her everything, she won't stay. But in reality, the opposite is true. She stays when she feels she's with a man who values himself, a man who doesn't need her approval to feel complete. Self-sufficiency is magnetic. Desperation is repelling. The moment you stop trying to buy her respect with attention, you start earning it through your presence, your confidence, and your boundaries. A man who knows his worth never begs for love. He attracts it. That shift from needy to self-assured is what separates the respected from the forgotten. So understand this: being overly available and needy doesn't make her feel loved. It makes her feel trapped, bored, and ultimately disinterested. A woman will never respect a man who has no life outside of her. She will never admire a man who abandons his mission to orbit around her. Respect is not earned by constant presence. It's earned by balanced presence. Show up fully when you're there, but also be absent enough for her to miss you. Love her, but don't lose yourself. Give her attention, but not at the cost of your self-worth. The moment you stop being needy, you regain your power. The moment you stop being overly available, you create space for respect. And without respect, love cannot survive. Boundaries are not walls. They are standards. They are the invisible lines that protect yourself, respect your values and your peace. A man without boundaries is like a house without doors. Anyone can walk in, take what they want, and leave him empty. And this is exactly what happens in relationships when you tolerate disrespect or mistreatment. If you allow a woman to speak to you harshly, manipulate you, or ignore your needs without consequence, you're silently teaching her that your dignity is negotiable. Weak boundaries are the root of many failed relationships because they kill respect. Women don't admire men who let themselves be walked over. They admire men who know their worth and have the courage to enforce it. Without boundaries, you don't appear loving. You appear weak. And weakness never commands respect. Weak boundaries often start with good intentions. You want to be kind. You want to be patient. You want to show her how much she matters. But kindness without limits turns into self-destruction. When you keep saying yes to everything, when you allow her to control the direction of the relationship, you're not building love. You're building resentment. And she's not seeing generosity, she's seeing weakness. A man who cannot say no is a man who cannot be trusted. Why? Because he doesn't stand for anything. Boundaries aren't about pushing her away. They're about protecting the relationship by ensuring mutual respect. When you lack boundaries, she will test more, push harder, and lose more respect. And the cycle continues until attraction dies completely. A man who respects himself isn't afraid to say enough. When you have weak boundaries, you end up tolerating disrespectful behavior. Maybe she ignores your calls, flirts with other men, or criticizes you in public and you stay silent. Silence doesn't solve the problem, it signals approval. By doing nothing, you are essentially saying, this treatment is acceptable. And once she knows you'll accept it, she loses the drive to treat you better. Respect is not built on tolerance, it's built on accountability. Strong men correct behavior when it crosses the line, weak men excuse it. And excuses never build respect. Boundaries are not about controlling her, they're about controlling yourself. It's about deciding what you will and will not allow, and having the strength to enforce those decisions consistently. Without that strength, your relationship becomes a playground where she holds all the power and you hold none. Weak boundaries don't just affect how she treats you, they also affect how you see yourself. Every time you ignore a red flag, every time you swallow your words, instead of speaking up, you chip away at your own self-esteem. Over time, you begin to resent yourself for being spineless. That inner resentment leaks out as frustration, insecurity, or even passive aggression. Ironically, the very thing you feared, losing her respect, becomes inevitable. Boundaries are self-love in action. When you enforce them, you feel stronger, you respect yourself more. And when you respect yourself, she follows your lead. But when you ignore them, you lose both her respect and your own. Weak boundaries are not harmless. They silently destroy the foundation of both your identity and your relationship. Women naturally test boundaries. It's part of human psychology. These tests are not always conscious, but they are real. She may push to see how far she can go, how much she can take, how much you'll tolerate. And every time you fail to stand your ground, she loses trust in your strength. Boundaries are what separate leaders from followers in relationships. A leader calmly says, "This is what I accept, this is what I don't." A follower just hopes to keep the peace, even at the cost of his own dignity. But peace built on weakness is temporary. It always collapses. If you want lasting respect, you must show that your boundaries are unshakable, not with anger, not with shouting, but with firm, calm certainty. Weakness invites disrespect. Strength commands respect. Weak boundaries also make you emotionally dependent. When you fear setting limits because she might get upset or leave, you're putting her emotions above your self-worth. This creates a power imbalance where she leads and you follow. And women do not respect men they can control. They respect men who control themselves, who lead with principle rather than fear. A man with strong boundaries can love deeply without losing himself, but a man with weak boundaries loses himself in the process of trying to keep love alive. The irony is, love never survives without respect, and respect never survives without boundaries. If you want her admiration, you must be willing to risk her temporary displeasure to protect your long-term dignity. Otherwise, you will always be trapped in a cycle of neediness and disrespect. The absence of boundaries doesn't just kill respect, it kills attraction. A woman desires a man who challenges her, who holds her accountable, who sets the standard for the relationship. That tension, that structure creates polarity. But when you allow her to do whatever she wants without consequence, the polarity collapses. She sees you as predictable, weak, and uninspiring. Strong boundaries create an environment where both partners grow, where love is balanced, and where respect deepens. Weak boundaries create an environment of chaos, imbalance, and eventual resentment. Attraction doesn't survive in chaos. It survives in clarity. If you want her to look at you with admiration instead of annoyance, you must establish boundaries early, enforce them consistently, and never apologize for them. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. So understand this: weak boundaries are not a sign of love. They are a sign of fear, and fear will never earn you respect. A woman will never admire a man who allows himself to be disrespected, manipulated, or controlled. She will only admire the man who has the courage to set standards and the strength to uphold them. Boundaries are not about pushing her away. They are about protecting your identity, your values, and your peace. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And when you fall for anything, you lose both her respect and your own. Remember, boundaries are strength. Weakness repels respect, but strength attracts it. The moment you stop being afraid of enforcing your limits, you stop losing respect and start gaining it. At the end of the day, respect is the foundation of love. Without it, nothing lasts. If you lack self-respect, if you're overly available and needy, if you allow weak boundaries to dictate your relationship, you are handing away the very value that makes you worthy of admiration. A woman cannot respect a man who disrespects himself. She cannot admire a man who has no purpose beyond chasing her. And she cannot love a man who allows himself to be controlled or disrespected. The truth is simple. You either set the standard or you get treated below it. So stop begging, stop overgiving, and stop tolerating what destroys your dignity. Stand tall in your principles, protect your identity, and lead with strength. Because the moment you start respecting yourself, you'll notice something powerful. She will have no choice but to respect you too.